To keep the theme of this channel actually being a music channel, today's video I want to make about some basic music theory facts to help out musicians who are scared to dabble in this. And though I say this is a really basic video and I will explain a lot of things relative to piano, since I think it is the easiest to understand and visualize. If you want to develop your creativity, either you need to have the right taste to know when to ignore these basics or look into more advanced music theory. So, the basics of music are tones. They're the alphabet to your language. We have tones from A to G, then they repeat. Those are the white keys on a keyboard. The black keys are the in-betweens, and depending on where you are coming from, they're either a sharp or a flat. Now, we need to define how often we use these letters in our musical language. For example, in English you use N and E a lot, but not so much X. This is the same with tones. The easiest scale to learn is C major. There, all of the most used letters are the white keys on a keyboard. C is the foundation of the scale, and other founding notes are E and G. Together, they make the C major chord. Yay, we have our first word. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. We were defining scales. There are 12 tones within a repetition or an octave. So there are 12 different major scales, and they all follow the same pattern. Let's follow it based on C major, the easiest. From C to D, 2 halftones or a whole tone, another whole tone, then a halftone from E to F, then a whole tone, and another halftone from B to C. This rule applies to every single scale. Here are some examples where I applied the same. For beginner music theorists, I recommend learning this pattern by heart and applying it daily to every single tone. That way you'll learn the geography of every scale pretty quickly. But more on that later. The second easiest scale to learn is A minor. It has the same notes as C major but starts at A, and its 2 other founding notes are C and E. Let's go through the pattern of a minor scale. From A to B we have a whole tone, that's the same. Then already half a tone between B and C, a whole tone, half a tone again between E and F, notes the same, a whole tone and a whole tone again. This is how a minor scale looks in C minor, so you can compare it to C major. These are the 2 most used scales, or dialects, if you will, coming back to our language metaphor. And if you couldn't notice, the difference in sound between major and minor is big. Major is usually associated with happy, and minor with sad. Now let's continue past used letters and talk about the words of music. Harmony. I already talked about it before briefly. In short, most used are major and minor chords. These are our available words, if you will. Let's pick the bass note, C, and make a major chord out of it. We know it has C, E, and G. But what is the pattern behind that? From C to E, it is 2 whole steps, and from E to G, 1.5 whole steps. For a minor chord, it is the other way around, basically. We have C minor with C, E flat, and G. Between C and E flat, we have 1.5 whole tones, and between E flat and G, 2 whole tones. Of course, this is applicable to all 12 notes within an octave. And here are some examples. And once again, I really want to stress this. For people learning music theory, it is good to learn this by heart and daily apply it to all 12 notes. That way it becomes like a second nature to you. Now, we're getting to the interesting part, because to write a song, you cannot just randomly line up any major and minor chords. We must stay within a key, not that key. Let's look at the key of C major. Here's the scale. C major is the bass chord we already established. It has C, E, and G. Now let's look at the next note in our scale, D. How do we know whether in the key of C major it is a major or a minor chord? Every chord in the key of C major uses notes from its scale. So we know for a chord there's always 1 note left out in between. So for our tone D to make a chord, we would use F and A, D, F and A. Is it major or minor? Let's find out. Between D and F, there is a D sharp, E and F, so 1.5 whole tones. And between F and A, there's F sharp, G and G sharp, and A, so 2 whole tones. D is a minor chord in the key of C major. And we can keep applying this to every note of the C major key. E has G and B and is a minor chord. F has A and C and is a major chord. G has B and D and is a major chord. A has C and E and is a minor chord. And B has D and F and is... Now what could the chord over B be? Between B and D are 1.5 whole tones, and between D and F 2? This is an exception, because this is a chord for itself, a diminished chord. Whoa! This chord isn't used much in pop music and is rather complex, so we will just leave it out for this video, just acknowledge its existence. These are all chords that sound good for sure in the context of the C major key. This is easily applicable to other major keys as well. And the structure of minor and major chords stays the same from key to key. So it is easily learnable by heart. And a neat little trick for minor keys: if you can't remember, A minor has the same scale notes as C major, just that it starts with A minor instead of C. So it shares the same chords as well, just starting from A minor. And this is also doable for other keys except C, as you can see here. If you as a future music theorist spend every day doing 1 or 2 of practicing these key structures, you'll become well versed in no time, trust me. Anyways, this was the video. Thank you so much for watching this long video on the very basics of music theory. Next week, I might continue with a more in-depth music theory, like Roman numeral analysis, which is important for deliberate sounding harmonic progressions. I might also do a more chill video because I spend lots of hours cutting this video together. So stay updated, I guess. But I hope these basics could help out some of you people. Now, to my weekly progress update on music. I worked on some Baroque chord soundtracks and on Coffee Drops, which was supposed to release today, but you know, this video is here. So I'm gonna release it tomorrow. Check it out on Spotify and other streaming platforms then. And next week I really want to sit down and finish the commissions I have, which is Egad's theme and the soundtrack of At Yeti the Man. He has like a passion project game where I said I would write the soundtrack. I feel like I've been letting people wait a bit long. So I hope I will be able to finish that. And I hope I see you again next week.